Hey, Michael, how you doing?
Well, how are you?
Surprised to see you here.
I fancy running into you here at the gallery and at my house.
Yeah, uh, yeah, it's like we planned it or something.
I,
Uh, yeah, we got a little bit of sunshine today, right? And it's not crazy cold in Lawrence, Kansas.
that's good. That's
Yeah,
good news.
yeah. Well, hey, well, thanks for climbing on board to this wagon. I'm going to go ahead and do some of the commercials for the Inside Art Talk. My name is Ben Albers, and I'm the exhibitions director at the Lawrence Art Center. And our guest today, this afternoon, Michael McCaffrey, and maybe a cat or two might make an appearance. He's trying.
Over there.
Yeah, so Lawrence Art Center is in downtown Lawrence, Kansas, for those that are tuning in from afar. And I get to run the exhibitions program, but we also have education and performing arts happening all the time. It's happening in a different way these days over the last year, but it's still happening nonetheless. So ideally, we might do this talk in person and walk around and look at the paintings themselves, but here we are. So this show has been up for a month and a half, and it's been in conjunction with a couple of other shows that we've had at the Art Center. Angie Pickman, who's a hand-cut paper artist, has an exhibit in the gallery just adjacent to this one. And then we had Kitty City, which was a psychedelic feline fantasy land for cats that just ended recently. We adopted about 50 cats out of that project with our partnership with the Humane Society. So anyway, the Pickman show and Michael's show end tomorrow. The Art Center is open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. It's always free. So please, if you want to see these in person, tomorrow's it. So come on out. I want to thank Trudy Credit Union for sponsoring Art Talks here at the Art Center, and I want to thank CEK Insurance for helping to underwrite Michael's show. Michael is the featured artist for the 2021 benefit art auction. It's the 41st benefit art auction at the Art Center. That'll be the next exhibit that'll open up here starting on March 12th. We'll have 150 plus works of art that'll be up for bid starting on March the 12th. So tune into that here in just a few weeks. The work that Michael has up in the gallery tonight is an exhibit called Family Album, and those works will not be in the art auction, but we'll talk later about the works of Michael's that will be in the art auction. So the way this is going to work tonight, we're gonna have a conversation about Michael's work and his process and his ideas, and shooting for 30 to 40 minutes. If any of you tuning in want to ask a question of Michael or his cats, type it in, and Marlo, who's directing this thing, will send it our way, and we'll do our best to answer any questions you might have. So with that, I'm going to put my glasses on so I can read Michael's bio. All right. I should say that Michael is a professor over at the University of Kansas, which is here in Lawrence, Kansas, and a great partner with the Lawrence Art Center. But Michael received his BFA from the University of Kansas before receiving his MFA from Indiana University. In the winter of 2016, Michael was awarded a 2-week residency at the Kimmel Harding Nelson Center for the Arts. He's exhibited his work regionally and nationally, recently at the Prince Street Gallery and First Street Gallery in New York, Manifest Gallery in Cincinnati, Ohio, and many other places around the country. In 2016, Michael's work was published in Manifest Gallery's International Painting Annual 5, and in 2015, he received an international grant from the Elizabeth Greenshields Foundation. From 2014 to 17, Michael functioned as the artist in residence at Hashinger Hall at University of Kansas, and currently he's an assistant professor in the Department of Visual Art at the University of Kansas, where he teaches, guess what? Painting, drawing, and life drawing. So welcome, Michael.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Well, I think we should just jump right into it. I think, there are several. I'm in the gallery where Michael's show is at right now, and Michael is in an undisclosed location somewhere else. But I thought maybe we could start off by talking about one of the a specific piece, Pizza Lunch, that's in the gallery. Tell us a little bit about what's behind that and how that all generated.
Yeah. So that painting started almost, I think, 2 years ago, and it was kind of it came out of like a painting from a past series of work. I think I'd done a painting where I had started to incorporate some of these old photographs from this family album that I sort of carry around. And I wanted to kind of expand on that idea. So at the time, I had a studio in the basement of my father's house, and I wanted to make a painting, start the painting kind of in his kitchen. So I would kind of go upstairs, and I would take a bunch of photographs, run back down into the basement to work on this painting. And I kind of quickly realized that the way things were in his space was not necessarily working for the painting. So, one of the things that I would do is start to go back upstairs and move things around, change things around, add some of these old photographs, and then run back downstairs and adjust the painting. And it's sort of, this was a thing for me that I don't know, I really kind of wrestled with, because I was concerned about, I wanted to project like his space as it is, like the truth of that space.
Right.
And so when I started to manipulate it, I started to become, I was like, am I breaking some rules here? Like, is this allowed? And then ultimately I kind of got more and more comfortable with that and decided that, maybe this space doesn't necessarily look like this at any one moment in time, but it's more like an accumulation of moments.
Yeah. I really like the way you said that, accumulation of moments.
I got lucky on that one.
Well, really, it's not, it sort of hints at sort of a panoramic situation, but like you said, it feels very, I don't know, claustrophobic in one way, and kind of chaotic with the amount of stuff, that's in there. So I've looked at this many times, having lived with it now for 6 weeks or something. Yeah, it is sort of a record of sort of a living space. I mean, houses are that, and the things that we surround ourselves with are part of us in a way. And so, yeah, it's history, but it's over periods of time in a way.
Yeah. I mean, I think, over time we tend to collect both objects. We stockpile them, or, hoard them. And maybe they become kind of imbued with who we are. But I think the same thing happens with memories. And, so you've got like a stockpile of magazines, and you've got a stockpile of the memories that go with them. And I think a painting is the same way. It's I don't know, maybe it's a time-based media to some extent, because it's a series of layers,
Right.
And each one of those layers or passes or changes indicates a moment in time as well.
Yeah. How long do you think you worked on this piece?
That painting, I don't know. I think it was a year and a half, maybe. I think it's hard to tell, because the space in the painting changed so much and it kept growing, but it also was worked on in multiple studio spaces because it started in his basement, and then I was really lucky and I got a really awesome studio space in the basement of the basement at Chalmers Hall, and so it got to expand. It got even bigger, but I can't really remember exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe a year and a half, and I don't know if it is. I don't know if I think it's done.
Well, it's big. What is the finish size on that?
I don't know. 20 feet.
Sure. Seems about like that.
Oh my God, it's a lot of feet.
Yeah.
One of my friends who saw it when it was nearly finished, like I think it was January of 2019, I was like, this is done. Like, I'm finished. I'm so glad this is done. I'm ready to do something else. And he said, you could just keep adding to it. And then I was like, oh no.
You can always keep adding. Right.
Yeah.
Careful who you're friends with.
Yeah.
Well, thinking about, we're going to move on to maybe some other pieces, but I would say something consistent in the paintings is stuff, like you just referred to.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, that's in the title of a couple of paintings that are about your stuff, and then your dad's. And maybe Marlo might pull up one of those. Yeah, that's your dad's stuff, right?
There it is.
And so is that more the departure from the pizza lunch would be that this is maybe a bit more direct?
Yeah, I think what happened with the pizza lunch painting, I started to become more comfortable with manipulating his space, moving things around, or setting them up for a way that I thought would make for a more, interesting painting.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is kind of where I started to build some more intentional setups. And I think the painting, the surface of the painting is still pretty active because I was using, I think I was starting to use cold wax as a medium at this time. It's not maybe worked for as long. It might be a little bit more direct than the pizza lunch painting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. And Marlo, maybe pull up Michael's stuff.
Yeah, I mean, with these two paintings, like I kind of I was thinking of them at the same time, I think, and I was thinking about that idea of like the history in our personal objects.
Mm-hmm.
So which had kind of grown out of the pizza lunch because I'd been used to thinking about the photographs as, obviously something that tells a story about a person. But then I was also thinking about these objects that did as well. And so, he's always had this one side of the garage is dedicated as a motorcycle shop. And there's this big workbench out there that my grandfather had built a long time ago. And so I kind of noticed that there was a similarity between that bench and the stuff on it, and then this bench in the basement of his house
Mm-hmm.
that had a bunch of my old stuff on it. And so then I thought, well, why don't I just kind of set up basically a large still life on this table of my stuff. And I have to say, like, there were, those are kind of like maybe the big ideas behind the making the paintings, but like there were also things that just like I just wanted to paint because I like the colors and the shapes. Like there's a circular saw, this yellow circular saw from 1976 or who knows when that he's had since that time, and I just wanted to paint it because I love the color in it.
Right.
And and the toys were just like that was like candy.
Yeah.
Like Optimus Prime and like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Slimer, yeah.
Slimer, absolutely.
It was your dad's workbench area. Is it sort of was it active? Was it being used, or was it just kind of, a relic of sorts?
It's entering the relic
Yeah.
stage. So that
Yeah.
side of the garage has been used less and less. And I have to be careful what I say here in case he's watching. Yep. So.
Well, I'm sure this idea or thread will continue throughout our talk tonight. But I personally really like that idea of sort of examining in a way these things that have meaning. They're benign, and some of them throwaway objects, but they still are in a place and connected to a person that you have some significant attachment to, and I really like the way that you sort of put those elements together to say something that's pretty specific to you. But yeah, all of your leftover toys from when you were a kid are certainly iconic and fun. But there's something, I hate the word sentimental, but there's something in there that feels special.
Yeah, I mean, it is, and there's, I think, an element of nostalgia to it as well, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. You've got a few. Most of what's in the gallery are oil paintings, but there are some collages that are here, and we had a studio visit, I think in the last fall or late summer or something, and you were in the midst of those. So this is a different approach in that you're not working from life, right? You're probably working from old photographs. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, these actually started because I wanted to give an assignment like this to my students. I was like, we're gonna do some collage work, and then I thought, you know what? I was like, I kind of want to fiddle around with this. Like I want to figure out how to do this because I hadn't done any collage work, probably not physical collage, since I was probably in grad school. And so I started using the photographs from the family album because I come back to that subject matter over and over and over again. And they were really satisfying because just, I don't know what it is, but to make a painting directly from one of these old photographs and just as by itself, just, it doesn't scratch the itch for some reason, but making the collage kind of did. I think there's something about taking this old photograph and it's kind of mechanically produced and then making it a significantly more physical and tangible object because the glue and the paper gets kind of piled up.
Right.
The first collage I made was sort of very thin. Like the first one that you showed, I think is Grandpa Leo in the old house. Like, yeah, there's not a whole lot of layers to that one, but I kind of realized, I was like, oh, this kind of works. And then I thought with the wedding portrait one, I don't know if I was struggling with it or if I just kind of decided I'm just going to keep. I think I was struggling with it and I didn't think it was working. And so I thought, I'm just going to keep putting paper on this and just see how much paper I can get on it. And then when I did that, it kind of transformed it into something maybe even more delicate or special somehow.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think one thing about your work that I've known is that, or that I see is, the evidence of the hand is definitely there. You're not fooling anybody with what you're up to. And I think, yeah, the approach with the collage work still has that feeling to it. And and so the wedding portrait piece, is that of your folks?
Yep, that's mom and dad
Yeah.
on their wedding day in
Uh-huh.
1976. I was not present.
Thanks for clarifying.
Well,
I'm sure your dad will appreciate it.
I've only I've only experienced a lot of these moments. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so captivated by the images in that family album, because a lot of it happened before I got here. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not sure why, but I like that distinction that you made with like what you had said earlier. Like you could have just painted from the photograph, but there's something that doesn't. There's not that's not scratching the itch that you want.
yeah,
And so, yeah, what a great solution to that question or that opportunity.
it was a happy accident.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think especially the larger collage, I think is really sharp. It's really great.
Cool.
There's one one piece. Yeah, I still get this backwards.
You got it.
There's another large piece behind us that's about the same size as the pizza lunch, and I think it's called Family Portrait.
Mhm.
And I remember seeing bits of this in a studio visit, but clearly, it's your father there, sort of in the center, who's often in your work in one way or another. But yeah, I'd really love to hear the stories behind, what's going on in this image.
Yeah, that painting happened. I guess the idea for it kind of came pretty quickly. I had been, I think last fall, trying to figure out ways to paint or make paintings that that also included my mother, who passed away in 2012.
Mhm.
And I wrestled with that. I don't know, most of last fall and the summer before. Like I couldn't, because she wasn't here, I couldn't figure out how to do it really.
Right.
And so one of the things I guess, I went back to that family album, and one of the things I think that made it possible was that I had kind of inherited these photographs of her that had been taken when she was younger. I don't know how old she is, and I'm not super sure who took the pictures. One of her friends, I think. But they were these really kind of large black and white photographs. And so I had also kind of like over the summer as well, started to make these paintings of this Afghan that she had made. This that's the kind of the orange and dark areas. And in my mind, that object, because it's one of the kind of few like physical objects that I actually kind of possess, and I don't even actually, it was at my dad's house. He had it. So, but it started to be like kind of a stand-in, I think, for her. And so it started to show up more and more in the paintings. And the idea for this painting, actually, several of the paintings in the show that are more recent, sort of just kind of like, they didn't really come in a dream, but they just came really, really quickly. Like I just had like an idea, like I just saw it. And, I had wanted him kind of centered around this dining room table where, most of the action would take place at his house of any kind. And I like to cloak him in that Afghan. There he is. I like to cloak him in that Afghan. And so I thought that it could be really visually interesting to have this kind of circle and then to have all of these kind of rectangular and square shapes kind of exploding out of it. And initially I'd only planned on doing the center canvas. But, like that's not gonna be enough. So like I started to I wanted to then I started to think, I'm not going to get it all in there, so I need to expand and put some wings on this thing. And at the same time, like I got really into like the process of setting these spaces up. And in that last picture, I'd been over there. There you go. That's a good. There I am. Just spending kind of hours in the evening setting up the space so that I could take hundreds of photographs to then use as a reference material. And it was really important. I'd done some of this before with the pizza lunch painting, but in that one I'd gone ahead and like painted the tape and stuff into the picture, and with this I was really a lot more focused on trying to create this sense of movement, or these photographs kind of swirling or flying around.
Yeah, I see that. Well, I'm glad that we got to see those process shots.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and it was real nice of him to let me, barge into his house in the evening and tear apart his dining room. And
so, talk a little bit about your dad and his role in all of this, and his how did this all start as him sort of being a central focus of so much of your work?
I have painted him off and on, I think, since I started painting. And it really only became a focus when I moved back to Lawrence, like as an intense kind of as the subject matter in about 2014. And at that, I had been painting self-portraits at that time, because I was trying to like get like a subject matter that was more personal. And so I'd been doing self-portraits, and then when I came back here, a friend said, "Why don't you do some paintings of your dad?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, maybe that's a good idea." And now I am.
All these references to your friends, maybe we should have had them on this program too.
Yeah, they're more interesting.
Not a chance. I know some of them.
You do.
No. So yeah, speaking about process, and setting up those sort of crazy, chaotic still lives is really good to share. I think as an artist, I'm always curious about how things are done, and then why they're done. Why those choices are made. But it seems like you're so generous with the materials that you use, and I think you've also got a real sensitivity with color choice. Everything's like that combination to me is intriguing. There are plenty of people who can paint stuff thick, but I think your subject matter and then that palette, I think is always intriguing to me.
That's cool. The setups, I think like it's interesting to me because I have sourced those old photographs for so long, like all the way back to when I was in undergrad. And then when I was in grad school, actually, like part of my thesis show was I had built these dioramas that were based on memories that I had. And then I had, made these large paintings from that. And so I think it's interesting that it's like the more things change, like there's these really root things that I kind of keep coming back to and exploring, in different ways. I think that the setups at his house are kind of just they're like the dioramas from grad school, but on a like a bigger scale.
Yeah. Yeah. So you draw a lot. I've been in your studio and it's pretty clear there's a lot going on in there, but drawing seems to be a pretty constant with you. And you and I talked about this early on, like showing some of these. Talk about why you draw, what you draw, and how much you draw, and why are they in the gallery?
I really wanted to. I really wanted to show these this way because I like the idea of bringing the studio into the gallery space, and this is a pretty good reflect. This is exactly how this would look on my studio wall, because I try to go in and make a drawing every day at least. For a while there, I wouldn't even let myself start painting until I'd done a couple of drawings, and they're not very big. They're like 9 by 12 inches or maybe 11 by 14. But I think it's like part of that idea was initially like, okay, I'm doing a warm up, and then it started to become like I started to like the accumulation of the images, and also I think the transference of the photograph to the charcoal.
Yeah. Yeah. Great ones in there.
It's just, I think it's also really important. It's really important to me to see what I'm interested in drawing, because I think that it creates like this timeline, and I can look back on it and be like, oh, look, I'm interested in that. Like it starts to tell me things about what I'm interested in looking at, in kind of a subconscious way. So it can function maybe a little bit like as a visual diary too.
Yeah, because possibly you writing those things down or researching in another form, may not it may not be revealed like drawing seems to do for you.
Yeah. For a while there it's kind of funny, like when I think Instagram first came out or when I first downloaded it, I was just took like a million Instagram pictures. I took pictures of everything and Instagrammed it. And it was like, I think that's what I was doing. I was like trying to catalog this stuff that I was interested in seeing, but I didn't think that I had the time to draw it. And then that totally changed, where now I'm still taking pictures, but it's like now I just go in and I make a drawing.
Yeah. Well, it's I kind of feel like, including it in the exhibit certainly speaks to process, in your hand. But I also think, you use the word accumulation. There's layers of accumulating that's evident in your work. And so I think
not all of them either.
the that display of the drawings definitely just echoes that or amplifies to me. So I'm glad you tacked them all up there.
That's right. We did tack them. I did tack them.
Well, I think we may have some questions from folks that are tuned in.
Oh boy.
Yep. So here we go. Can you read that, Michael?
I think I can.
All right.
Oh, it's from Tristan. Fabulous artist, fabulous exhibition, fabulous artist, and fabulous mentor. I was curious about what your thought process is like when approaching an ambitious project like Pizza Lunch. That's a good question. And I think if I knew how much work it was going to be, I wouldn't do it. Really, like I start it and I'm like, well, I'm going to start this painting and this will be fun. I don't think that any of I can't say that, but I would say a lot of the panorama paintings, especially, I don't think of that they're gonna get that big. Like the
Hmm.
pizza lunch, I didn't think about that. It started in the middle, the one with him sitting at the table.
Yeah.
And as I worked and worked on it, I was like, well, there needs to be a little bit more. Yeah, that's the first panel. And then, um, and then it just kind of kept ballooning. Sometimes I think that it's just because I'm really terrible at visioning like composition. And so the way to solve that problem is to just keep adding things.
Right. Well, that makes sense to me, and I can see it. When you spoke about that being the first panel, I can see how it kind of grows from there.
It just, I mean, I kind of, I mean, I think that's an okay way to start a really big project. It's like you're excited about it, and then, it's usually like I don't know, maybe a couple weeks in, and then I'm like, oh, this is going to be a lot of work.
Right. Yeah. Well, it certainly looks that way.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've got more coming. So can you just discuss the color usage in your collage work in contrast with your paintings? There's a dreamy quality with the
Yeah.
collage work versus the inky darkness of your paintings.
Yeah. In both the collages and the paintings, um, I work with like a limited palette. And the palette actually kind of changed from the more recent paintings, like the family portrait and the solitaire at 4 a.m. That palette is different than the one that I kind of used really on the other side of the gallery, I guess. Like um, the pizza lunch, I think I was using quite a few more colors on my palette. Um, the the newer work in the paintings is I think it's a darker palette. I know it is because I actually started to use black. I had like a chromatic black from Gamblin on my palette, which is the first time that I've ever used a black. I usually just mix a black. But for the most part, it's like a double palette. So I would use two, like a warm and a cold of each primary, and a semi-transparent opaque white that's called flake white replacement that comes from Gamblin, and it's a replacement for lead white, which I used to love until they stopped making it because it has lead in it, logically. So I think in the light, in the scene that I'm painting is like really, really important. That's something I'm trying to use to model forms. With the collages, I guess it's still a limited palette, but I guess it's governed a little bit more by the photograph, and the condition of the photograph or the tint. Um, I think the wedding portrait one is the best example of that. Yeah, because that one had this kind of dreamy quality to it, like a soft haze over it. And I mean, I don't know why I guess it was the film that was used, or a lot of photographs in that album look that way. And so I'll take the photograph and I'll kind of, look at it, and I'll buy these color packs, like colored paper packs from the craft stores. And they come in these like in a limited palette of like 4 or 5 colors. And they have like these really wonderful names, like, Autumn Harvest or something. And it's like I'll look at the photographs that I have, and like the one of my parents standing, or my dad sitting in the wicker chair and my mom standing next to him. I think that palette is an Autumn Harvest.
Oh boy. Yeah, I wonder who gets that job that gets to name paper or paint. Uh, Crazy.
No,
All right, I think we have one final question here for you.
Dylan. Okay, so beautiful work, Michael. Thank you. I was wondering if you could talk more about your compositions in your paintings. There's a lot of information in each. How do you handle all of it? Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said earlier, I think I'm not terribly good at composition. The way that I get out of that is by expanding it. A lot of the times in the bigger panoramas, I'll work towards kind of bookends on either edge. So, the pizza lunch painting, the far right hand side of that, there's kind of a refrigerator with the door open, and it opens to the lower right hand part of the painting. And then, yep, you got it. So then I kind of tried to mirror that or really do the opposite of it in the far left panel. Yep, where there's this large painting of my father. So in my mind, that kind of creates like a kind of a like bookend like this, and like the opening below that painting, and then the opening above the refrigerator door. Like I was, I wanted it to kind of have like a weaving motion, so that your eye would kind of travel across the canvas from left to right or right to left. And I don't know, like I'm really a big fan of like Italian Renaissance painters like Tintoretto, and I see there's like a lot of information in his paintings. Specifically, there's a crucifixion in Venice that I'm a really, really big fan of, that I feel like kind of does that. There's like all these little figures that function as a bunch of information. I guess between forms, like I look a lot at the negative space.
Yeah.
It's getting pretty formal, but and I just, I like to see those spaces kind of break down and come back together and join each other and become recognizable and then unrecognizable. I like to more and more, I like to kind of play with that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that question. And Michael, you had said something a second ago about lighting and how, when you set up these sort of installations of sorts, lighting is a big consideration. So some of the newer work you've been doing that'll be in the art auction is outside. So you're dealing with natural light. And maybe we can take a look at a few of these. Yeah. So, the works, tell us a little bit about the works you've been working on lately that we'll be able to see in person here at the auction exhibit.
Yeah, I've been, most of them are landscape, or really, I guess maybe they're more places in Lawrence or around Lawrence that have some degree of kind of personal meaning to me, or they are locations that I pass by on a very regular basis. This painting in particular is kind of a point of view from on top of the Oriad Hotel, which I've been up there many, many times since it opened, and I think it's like the coolest point. I mean, I miss that the crossing isn't there, or like the yellow sub, but I love the view from the top of the Oriad. It's like one of the only places in town where you can really get up and you can see, get a really good kind of aerial perspective.
Yeah.
Yep, this one's from the roof as well. And they're all from photographs. So I've gone up there and taken a bunch of pictures, and then I go back to the studio and start to put these paintings together.
Yeah. About how big are some of these paintings?
The last one I think was 50 inches by 38 inches, and this one is 24 by 30 inches.
Cool. Well, those are great to see, and it's really nice to show, the range that you've got in your toolbox. Marlo Angel, our producer, is telling us that we have two more questions, and then we got to wrap it up. So Marlo.
Yes. Oh, Matt, wonderful. Can you speak to your superhuman ability to pack in the details without getting super detailed? I would never think of myself as packing in details, but I think I rely a lot on context, I think. So just kind of implying things and then hoping that the surrounding area or objects will, work well enough together that it kind of, it encourages your mind to see details that aren't necessarily there.
Great answer. All right, here comes our last question from Hong Zhang.
All right. I love your work and the sensitivity to color. Thank you. How long does a very large painting take you to finish? Did you use a palette knife to paint a combination of brush and palette knife? Yeah, I think the finish time really can vary. The pizza lunch painting took like a year and a half, I think. And then the family portrait one, which is a little bit smaller, but it's still a really big, I think it's still a big painting. I think I did that painting in 3 weeks. It was all the paintings on the wall behind Ben right now, I think we're done in a month and a half. It was very, very fast.
And are you using both palette knife and brushes?
Yeah, I do. I usually I'll kind of go in and map out the composition, try to just get paint down all over the whole thing, and with a brush and really thin down washy paint. And then I usually kind of let that set up and come back a couple days later, and I'll start putting the paint down with the palette knife probably on that second day, and then continue to work primarily with the knife. I've got a few different knife sizes, which is helpful for the big ones.
I bet. Wow. Well, thank you to everybody who tuned in today. And really, I want everyone to know that the Art Center is really grateful to have this work here and to have you come in and talk about it. And that we're going to continue on with the featured artist role at the auction. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Really. And so for those of you watching, tomorrow is the last day to see this show. You can also see a lot more of Michael's work at his website, which is what, Michael?
Oh, it's what is that website? It's not updated recently. It's michaelmccaffreystudio.com.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we'll have new work from Michael and about 150 plus other people on our walls opening on March the 12th. So if you can't make it in, just go to the Art Center's website and it'll tell you how to take a look at it and bid on it online. And all the bidding helps support this program, which is a free program here in Lawrence, and it helps us to be able to put on shows like this and work with artists like Michael. So we appreciate everybody who participates in that project. And so I think Marlo has put together a little video that we're going to close this thing out with. So thanks, Marlo, for all your help with this. And Michael, I hope to see you in the analog soon. I hope so. Yeah. And thank you so much, Ben, for taking the time to talk to me about this. And thanks to the Art Center for
putting my work up on the wall.
Great to have you.
Yeah.
All right. Take care.
You too.